So this week we're jumping in to find out Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, the third reincarnation of the character, or I guess third one to wear the mantle. I'm being joined this week by Mr. Moon once again. What do you know about Blue Beetle?
Not a whole lot, man. Remember hearing of him from time to time growing up, but
I was going to say, growing up, you probably would have heard of some of his other incarnations, but this one's actually a fairly new conception. So let's get into it. Jaime Reyes, real world. So Jaime Reyes is a superhero appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics, created by Keith Giffen and John Rogers and Coley Hamner. The character made his first appearance in the Infinity Crisis, issue number 3, February 2006. So this is oh man, that's over 20 years ago.
careful, you're going to hurt yourself.
I'm
Almost 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years ago. Yeah. Oh God. So new by our standards, but I guess old by some young people's standards.
Jaime Reyes is the third character to assume the mantle of Blue Beetle.
So yeah, we may do episodes later on of the other Blue Beetles, but for now, because of the movie coming out, let's talk about this one. So his own monthly series debuted 2 months later with Blue Beetle Volume 7, issue number 1 in May 2006. It was initially written by Keith Giffen and John Rogers with artist Coley Hamner. And once again, apologies if I butcher last names.
Giffen left before issue number 10, and Rogers took over full writing duties, joined by new artist Raphael Albuquerque.
So Rogers left in issue number 25 to concentrate on his television series Leverage, which that was kind of cool. I didn't know the guy who worked on Blue Beetle also worked on Leverage. Pretty fun show.
Is it?
Oh yeah, I definitely do recommend it.
After a couple of fill-in issues, Leah Sturgis became the main writer in issue 29, but the series was canceled the last issue, number 36, in February 2009.
So not the longest run, unfortunately. Like, with as much popularity as this character has been given over the past few years, and that's sad to see he had such humble beginnings. So the editor, Dan DDO, put the cancellation down to poor sales and said that Blue Beetle was a book that was started with very high expectations, but it lost its audience along the way. Which, that unfortunately, there's a lot of characters who have such major potential, but if it can't catch on, it's just hard.
I feel like when you're in that kind of industry and your whole job is to just pump characters out left and right to keep audiences hooked, maybe he just didn't have the attention that he needed to make something solid from the start and captivating.
Which, unfortunately, that seems to be the case with a lot of characters.
The character returned in June 2009 as a co-feature of the more popular Booster Gold comic.
And yeah, Booster Gold has a pretty solid relationship, I want to say, with the second Blue Beetle in that. Like, they're considered best friends in the comics. We'll do an episode on those characters at some point. So that's kind of what we got for Real World. Let's go in-universe. So in-universe, Jaime lives in El Paso, Texas, as the son of Albert Reyes and Bianca Reyes, and the brother of Milagro Reyes. Milagro Reyes? I feel like I should know this considering I'm Hispanic.
You're a bad excuse.
Yeah.
Jaime has an acute sense of responsibility for his immediate family and various friends, though he complains about having to sort out their various problems. He derives strength and courage from his family's support, wanting what's best for them. I mean, I would complain too about having to always deal with other people's problems.
Same.
Like, I want to go through, like, I'll support you, but I want to do my stuff in life. Gosh dang it.
Exactly. And also, he is one of the few unique characters where his family does play a big, significant role in him as a hero.
Oh.
And that. So let's get into that. So let's get into the Infinite Crisis. So the mystical scarab that had given Dan Garrett his powers had been thought destroyed. When it was found intact, it was given to Ted Cord, who was never able to use it. So yeah, he gets his powers from a scarab, basically nanotechnology thing.
Interesting. Wonder who it was created by.
Oh, we'll find that out.
After an attack by Brother Eye, the scarab appeared energized, and Ted brought it to the wizard Shazam, who took it and sent Ted away. Shortly after, in the Day of Vengeance storyline, Shazam was killed, and the scarab was blasted across the globe, along with shards from the Rock of Eternity.
Yeah, the crisis incidents always have a lot of chaos going on in the comics. So the scarab came to Earth in El Paso, Texas, where Jaime picked it up. Not long after, Booster Gold appeared at Jaime's house to retrieve it, but it fused itself to Jaime's spine and while he was sleeping.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the scarab is basically, it tries to find a host. So don't just leave it sitting there.
Don't put it on your dresser as a good luck token.
Exactly.
Booster recruited Jaime for Batman's assault on Brother Eye's satellite, since the scarab was the only thing that could see the satellite. Using the scarab's power, Jaime was able to reveal the satellite to Batman Group and enable them to defeat it in their spaceship.
Yep, so this is a high-tech piece of equipment that is, as we're going to discover, not exactly Earth-oriented. So once Brother Eye was sent plummeting to Earth, Jaime's disappeared from the ship, teleported away by the scarab, which sought to escape the Green Lantern on board. And we'll find out why here shortly.
Ooh. So an ongoing series, Jaime was seen in his own monthly series fighting off Green Lantern Guy Gardner, who had been driven to rage by his ring's reaction to the scarab.
Yeah, the Green Lanterns and the scarab have a history. So a flashback expanded on Jaime's discovery of the scarab, revealing how the scarab bonded itself to Jaime and showing his first encounter with the metahuman, or with a metahuman. After that fight with Guy Gardner, Jaime found himself alone and naked in the desert and had to hitchhike home.
I try to explain that to whoever picks you up when you're hitchhiking.
Oh, dude, right? That I always love that. That's like a plot point of any time they get a character will be stranded. They're always naked, because I'm just like, man, that's got to be like just walking down, just like, man, I wonder if somebody would have actually stopped had I been wearing clothes.
Yeah. Upon his return, Jaime discovered he had been missing for a whole year because the scarab used a dimensional mode of transport to get back to Earth. Unlike most superheroes, Jaime shares his identity with family and friends.
Yep. Right there. Which honestly, I feel as though it would just make things so much easier if you did. To an extent. Like, because I always love like when superheroes are like, oh, I can't reveal my identity, even my family, otherwise it will put them in danger. You know what's even more dangerous? Being attacked in your home and your family has no idea why.
Yeah, that seems like you're just setting everybody to fail.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm like, I get you also don't, like, definitely there would be people in my life I wouldn't tell because I'd be like, they're going to blab to someone. But I'd at least tell the ones I knew I could trust to be like, hey, by the way, if we're in a situation and I disappear, I'm the guy in the blue suit fighting the villain.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about me. Don't stick around trying to find me and almost get killed.
Yeah, I guess both sides of the story, or both sides of the coin make sense, but just imagine poor Aunt May randomly getting her house ransacked because somebody thought Spider-Man lived there, or found out that he did.
Exactly. So he began a career as a superhero, meeting Oracle, the Phantom Stranger, and the current Peacemaker during his early adventures, and ends up in conflict with supervillains like the ones that work for the criminal boss La Dama. La Dama? He often associates himself with a street gang of local superhumans known as the Posse. His support team agreed to help Jaime track crime and natural disasters in the Midwest via internet. Which that's another nice thing about having your family with that. They can like be your support team.
Yeah, for sure. Contrary to Jaime's initial belief, the scarab is revealed to be extraterrestrial technology. However, magical influences involving the first contact with Earthmen left the scarab corrupted and uncontrollable by the reach of space Sector 2.
Yep, the Reach are basically an invasive alien species that basically conquer and take over places. And yeah, so kind of going into...
So then a little bit of irony that their own tool was corrupted by humans, and now, hey, look, you got this superhuman that's gonna...
It was weirdly a big... I don't know if you've ever seen the Young Justice series. Anybody listening to this, I highly recommend it as a watch. Great series. Went through a lot of turmoil as far as like behind the scenes, like being able to produce it and stuff. But they actually stay pretty close to Jaime's real origin stories in it.
Oh.
Because the Reach actually become a factor. So Gardner, the Green Lantern Gardner, returns and reveals how the Reach and the Green Lantern Corps had battled in the past, forcing the Reach into a truce. The Reach continued pursuing their invasion plans, offering scarabs as a protector, and then forcibly turning the host into their vanguard.
Okay, so
and
Trojan horse.
Yep, and that's kind of what the Reach, how the scarabs work, is they send them out to planets that have potential for life, and then when sentient life forms, it attaches to one of the sentient beings, and then presents them as a protector, because if the Reach are invited to the planet, the Green Lantern Corps technically is not allowed to intervene.
Wow. All right.
So yeah, that's kind of how they kind of get around that truce.
The Scarab's fully functional AI acts as an agent for the Reach. As Jaime's Scarab has only a partially functioning AI, failing more and more into his control and forming an alliance with him, the Reach changed their agenda into feigning relationship with Jaime and Earth, attacking him in a more subversive manner.
Yeah, so basically, that's kind of what we got for Blue Beetle's story. But yeah, basically what I love about the Scarab and Jaime's relationship is the Scarab is technically sentient. It's a high level, a very advanced AI system, but it is under control of the Reach. But through magical means, they sever that connection to the Reach. So now it's kind of on its own. It's not controlled by the Reach. So generally, its hosts, it tends to form more of an actual bond with. He does have trouble controlling it because because it's an AI, it's so analytical that it basically will just be like, that's a threat, we should kill it. It's like, no, like, let's not kill it. It's just a human. It's just a guy with a knife. No reason to vaporize him. So him and the Scarab are at odds a lot of the time just because the Scarab is just very like, well, why don't we just blow that thing up? It's like, because of the casualties? I mean,
what's your point?
Like, it would effectively end this conflict. So, yeah, they're definitely a unique relationship. And that's kind of what we got for this character. Very short one. I imagine there's definitely going to be more coming out about him, especially with the movie. And I've heard about new comics being published. So
interesting. So
let's get into powers and abilities. So, Mind Link. Due to his bond with... Kejada, James has a powerful mind link to the Scarab and can call forth at will, even if it manages to be severed.
Interesting.
Right? So equipment, the Blue Beetle Scarab, obviously, and the Blue Beetle Scarab has a assortment of tools. Like the battle armor itself, with the Scarab, Jaime's can produce a suit of armor around his body capable of great feats, like enhanced strength, technomorphy. He can manipulate the armor to make many shapes, usually in the form of weapons. He has a plasma cannon, wings, melee weapon production, so he can do blades, maces, hammers, like all that stuff. He also has energy pulses and an energy shield, which pretty effective.
Sounds like a bug version of Iron Man.
Kind of. Definitely on the level of Iron Man. I'd argue it's closer to Iron Man's... Iron Man does have a techno suit that he develops later on that's more symbiotic with him.
Yeah.
And that's similar to this. So his weakness. The scarab in and of itself is also a weakness. Although the scarab gives Jaime's great power, it also wrestles for control over his, with him occasionally, which you see in the comics and in the cartoons. Like, the scarab will want to do something, and Jaime has to fight it from doing that. So it's kind of one of those, like, later on they become more friends, but at first it's definitely a battle between, like, their objectives. And that, like, one, he's like, why don't we just murk this guy and get it over with? And he's like, we don't kill people. He's like, I don't know why.
It's logical to me.
Exactly.
In other media, the short list for this one. In TV, this version of Blue Beetle appears in an episode of Smallville, Batman, The Brave and the Bold, Young Justice, and Justice League Action.
And yeah, definitely I recommend the Young Justice. Great show.
In film, this version appears in the DC animated movie universe as a member of the Teen Titans in Justice League vs. Teen Titans, The Judas Contract, and has a non-speaking role in a flashback in Justice League Dark Apocalyptus War.
Which, all those are also great watches.
Oh man, Teen Titans.
I will say the animated movies, DC nailed it. They brought the heat. Sad that the live action didn't.
Wonder why there's that disconnect.
Right?
This version of the Blue Beetle is set to make his live action debut in August 2023 in his own film, Blue Beetle.
Which I've seen previews. Some people are like, it's too comedic, it's too I'm like, honestly, I'm excited. It looks good. And it looks pretty accurate to like what the suit does and everything.
I think it'll be cool just because it's going to be fresh.
Yeah.
It's not a remake of a remake of a remake of...
It's new.
Yeah.
They're finally bringing in new blood into the movies.
Finally. All right, in video games, this version appears in Batman, The Brave and the Bold, the video game Young Justice, Legacy Infinite Crisis, Lego Batman 3, Beyond Gotham, Injustice 2, and Lego DC Supervillains.
Yeah, I actually just downloaded Injustice 2.
Nice.
He's a fun character to play with.
Yeah?
Yep. So that's kind of what we got on Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes. Later on, we may do episodes on the previous Blue Beetles, but for now, I guess I'll ask the question I ask every week. Mr. Moon, you a fan?
To be determined. I'm curious. I mean, a blue version of Iron Man, a bug version of Iron Man sounds pretty cool. And I'm curious to see how this live action goes with him. I'll have to go back and watch the Teen Titans that have him in it, but to be determined.
I will say I'm a big fan. Honestly, I didn't know much about this version of him from the comics. I knew the other ones. But I'll just say, like, the Young Justice really made me a big fan of the character. And I thought their portrayal of him, especially from the research I've done on him now, on point. For anyone that's still listening, if you got something out of this, enjoyed the episode, or even liked the character before from a movie, a comic, cartoon, hell, even that t-shirt that you saw one time, you're a fan too. If you want to jump on this train, why not subscribe and share with a friend? Dick Rail out. Y'all keep riding them rails.